This is Arts Alive. I'm Lynda Phillippi, and my guest today is Barbara Doyle. Barbara is a board member of the Yamhill County Cultural Coalition, and she's here to talk about their fall campaign. So welcome.
Well, it's nice to be here.
So Barbara, you want to maybe talk a little bit about maybe your involvement with the coalition and how that all came to be?
Well, I think it was in late 2002.
Okay.
Something came through the mail or something about a meeting to start forming the coalitions. Each county has a coalition. And so there was a whole slew of people who met over at the Armory, the community center.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, you know, if you're interested in this, after they gave their big talk about what was involved, you would put your name on a piece of paper, and the county commissioners would decide if you had the right credits or, you know, CV to be on the committee. And obviously I was one of them. So starting right then in late 2002, I was involved, but we had to spend all of 2003 and I think maybe the first 2 months of 2004 on the planning committee.
Of course.
And then if you send in the right plan and the state accepted it, voila, you're on the coalition. And each coalition had to make up their own plan, which included bylaws. And after you serve 2 terms, and for me that was 5 because of the way I set it up when I started, I had to get off the board after 5 years. And I think actually it was in Mike Santonet's house that I got put back on after my year of absence. And so this is my second full term coming up that I'm on right now.
So it's been almost 10 years.
Yes.
My goodness. Isn't that so interesting? So now you say that our county is one and every county in the state has one.
Every county has one, and I believe there are 9 federally recognized Native American tribal groups. They are also recognized.
And does this fall under then the Oregon Cultural Trust?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's we are under that big umbrella, and that's under the Arts Commission.
So the Arts Commission of Oregon is kind of the big umbrella, and then breaking it down so you're at the county level, administering programs throughout the county. Is that, do you administer programs, or do you just work with various groups such as the Arts Alliance and that sort of thing?
We don't actually administer very much.
Okay.
Essentially, the coalitions were created to be re-granting agencies.
I see, okay.
I mean, people in the state, whether they're individuals or businesses, donate to the Cultural Trust. And that how all that money is worked out is not what I really want to talk about.
Oh, right, of course.
But every county gets, or every coalition gets a certain amount of money, and you have to use it to support cultural activities in your area.
Okay.
And for us here in Yamhill County, we created a competitive grant process. And we obviously have to keep a little bit of the money we get from the state, from the Cultural Trust, because we have things like we have to register ourselves because we're nonprofit. We have, you know, phone, or not a phone, but a P.O. box, you know, all that kind of stuff. So basically, just about everything we get from the state, we give out.
And is that your only source of funding, or you also take direct donations?
Well, a nonprofit will never, ever turn down direct donations.
Of course.
Never. But the way we kind of get additional funds is through something that we call the cultural campaign.
Okay.
Which the closest thing I can describe it, you know, compare it to, would be the United Way, which takes in a bunch of money from all kinds of sources, usually in a geographical area, and then they distribute it as they're directed to noteworthy organizations in that geographical area. Now, for the Cultural Coalition, we don't let donors just specify who they want to give it to out of the blue. We tell them, here's the list.
Oh, I see, okay.
Right? So we know that the money will go for cultural projects.
So you have a list of organizations that you support and to whom people can make a donation, but they can also make an unspecified donation to the Cultural Coalition.
Oh, yes, we certainly will.
Just, you know, the $500,000 gift to be used as you see fit.
Wouldn't we love that?
But I mean,
we'd share it too.
Of course, of course. And so I know that there's, okay, so talk to me a little bit. Is this the part about the matching grant? The campaign, is that part of what you're doing now?
No, the matching grant is for the money that comes from the Cultural Trust.
Okay.
Let's just assume we get $10,000 from the Cultural Trust.
Okay.
That's for a year. We take out our small amount, which is maybe $500-700 for our various costs. So I mean, everything is volunteer.
That's little.
So yes, it's very small. And then, well, of course, if we only got $5,000, we couldn't take out that much money. But in any case, when we put out the grant applications, and I said it's competitive, anybody, excuse me, who applies for funding through the grant process has to put up half the cost.
Okay.
So we match them up to 50%.
Okay.
And we allow part of that 50% that the applicant has to put up can be in kind. We'd certainly like to see some cash involved.
Sure.
Because, you know, in kind can be material or work, all of which represents, you know,
equity.
Yes, and interest in the project. And
sure.
that. But when you get right down to it, money speaks loudly. So we would like to see some cash from an applicant. So that's where the 50% part is.
Okay. And maybe if you don't mind, maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the organizations that you do fund.
Okay, well, some of them have changed over the years. At the beginning, it was very hard to get enough applications because who knew about us?
Right.
I mean, you know, the Cultural Trust still has problems getting people to know about them, and then you go down to a county level, and it becomes even more difficult because, first of all, our PR and advertising and marketing is more limited. Well, now I'm just showing my age. What did you ask?
Oh, we were talking about maybe some of the organizations that you have funded or that you support.
Right. A couple of them that I can mention because we've funded them pretty much year after year would be Linfield Chamber Orchestra.
Okay.
It hasn't always been for this project, but generally it has been. We help them provide classical music concerts for Yamhill County 4th grade students.
Right, that's a great program.
We helped Arts Alliance in several ways on different kinds of projects. Early on, we helped the Lavender Festival get started, and in that case, we simply helped them pay their advertising and marketing so more people would know about them. Arts Conspiracy, which is out in the western part of the county, art program for mostly school-age kids. They get help. When this whole thing started, the majority of the people on the board were from McMinnville. Most of the applicants were from McMinnville. Most of the organizations that got money were from McMinnville.
Right.
And I come from Newburgh, and so I'm an advocate for things in Newburgh. So we have expanded the range of where the money goes. And, you know, just off the top of my head, I can't think of a specific thing because I have to remember, some of these organizations are for the grants, and part of them are for the cultural campaign. And some organizations actually fit into both categories.
Okay. Okay, so the campaign itself then, what you want to talk about that? Then?
Okay, that's the project or program that's much like the United Way.
Okay.
So it was our job pretty much from the beginning to find cultural projects out there and then try to raise money for them. And the thing is, if you don't have to be, no, I should back that up. You have to be an organization to apply to be part of the cultural campaign. But you do not have to be a nonprofit organization.
Oh. Okay.
And you do not even have to have culture as your mission.
Really? Okay.
You have to have a cultural project.
I see. Okay.
So because I come from the Newburgh area, I use this as a great example. The Chehalem Valley Chamber of Commerce, obviously, that's not nonprofit. And business is there, business, not culture. But they organize and sponsor the free Tunes on Tuesday summer concerts.
Oh, right. Perfect, yeah.
Music is culture.
Exactly.
Right. So even though it would seem like they shouldn't get the money, they can't apply for a grant for something for the chamber, but they can apply for a grant for a concert, but then they can also be part of the cultural campaign to get additional funds.
I see. Okay, so the cultural campaign, then, it's not exactly like, this is not like a capital campaign where you're just asking for money.
Yeah.
You're actually going out and looking for projects that you're able to fund.
Right. And
see.
we
Okay.
really are not looking for somebody to create an organization like this and then say, well, now we need funding for a cultural project.
Right, right.
I mean, these are organizations that have some, stability.
Okay. Well, so that sort of makes a little bit more sense to me. I when you said United Way, I don't know what I had in mind. So you're not actually actively fundraising. That's not what this is about.
No, we basically, we locate what we call the cultural partners, for instance, the Linfield Chamber Orchestra,
Right.
the Chamber of Commerce in Newburgh. And I have a list of those
Oh,
things
sure,
with me.
of course.
So, we approach them, would you like to be part of this campaign process?
That's fabulous.
And if they say yes, then their obligation is they have to give us their membership or their mailing list.
Oh, I see, okay.
And so we take all of that, put it into a great big spreadsheet, knock out all the duplicates, and then those are the people who get the request to make a donation to the cultural campaign.
I see, okay.
And you get a nice sheet of paper that explains what the organizations are, what their project is, and then you get this nice little check-off list. I would like to give $50 here and $75 there and $50,000 there, and that recipient is still waiting for $50,000.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, sometimes getting funding for arts and culture. And I think I remember this, that you may still be part of the funding process, but the Yamhill County Historical Society.
They're a cultural partner.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was, in the whole getting the building up and going, then you were instrumental in that, right?
That was all private money
Okay.
that gave them the land and the building. I think they're getting some foundation money now, but basically what we did was help them with a program or advertising, that type of thing.
Because I know that a lot of organizations like yours, that are funders, will say, we won't help you. We won't contribute to an advertising budget. We won't help you do. Like speaking as somebody, I've worked for nonprofits before, and when you go to grantors, they'll say, well, we won't help you with development expenses. We won't help you with fundraising expenses. We won't help you with event expenses, and we won't pay for advertising. And sometimes you think, but if you did, if we had a little nudge, it would get us to the point. For example, like with what you did with the Lavender Festival.
Exactly.
If you can market it, if enough people know about it, they'll become self-sustaining.
Right. We don't fund them anymore because
you don't have to.
They found their legs and they can do it on their own
Exactly.
now.
And so it's kind of like giving them enough reach that they can get the critical mass that they become self-sufficient. I think that's a wonderful thing that you do.